May I invite Father Jagadish to come over the desk. Father Dr. Jagadeeswaraiah Murala, Assistant Professor, Sacred Heart College, Satyanayam. Father Jagadish is a person well versed in Indian philosophy and teaches the same in our institution. However, he is well updated with other subjects of philosophy and also yogasana. Being a highly intellectual and knowledgeable person, Father Jagadish is known for his short and sweet thoughts. Father Jagadish, besides being the convener of today's seminar, is also one of the resource persons. May I now invite Father Jagadish to address the gathering.
It looks like almost the subject is it a repetition of my guide Chandrasekhar. The difference, Dr. Chandrasekhar was giving the comparative study of analytical psychology and yoga, the understanding of the self. What I am proposing in my paper is the discovering the self in a scientific manner by yoga. First chapter, sutras 1 to 6. This is where we are going to have an exposition how yoga understands the self and how we are supposed to discover self, not for the other's sake, for one's own sake. The first sutra, Atha Yoga Shastranam. Now a little bit of explanation to the terms themselves. Atha usually means afterwards, then, later. A kind of, it is not now, but after. After experiencing something, and now, that and now has to follow. Now, what is that which has gone before? One comes to the realization of yoga. Now, this is where yoga starts with. Yoga is not started with the person without having any experience. All these experiences, what we are talking about, the sociological experiences, let us say, a person undergoes a kind of misery in life. And we have one, name in Bhagavad Gita. All the chapters' names are yoga, they give. The first chapter is named as Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Arjuna gets into misery. That is, misery itself is a yoga. You get into difficulties and you begin to consider yourself, why the difficulties? Why am I undergoing such a suffering, such miseries? Once you get fed up with this, only then, that's what the meaning of Atha, only then you can come to the realization of the self, and yoga begins at that point. Now it's a discipline. You cannot simply say, okay, I have experienced misery, I don't want to have any more misery, do away with it. It cannot be done because the sociological aspects, the physiological aspects, the psychological aspects all come together, forcing themselves on you. That's what we need to understand. My mind is there all the time forcing me to come to what we call the dreams, the imaginations, expectations, the hopes, future hopes, all those things. Now they have to be cut, almost like chopped off. There is no future, there is no imagination, there is no dreams, there is no hope. And then the yoga happens. This is what the meaning of the discipline. It is not once and for all. Every time we need to remind ourselves. Then comes the proper meaning of yoga. What do we mean by the term yoga itself? Of course, the explanation is given it is from the root word called yuj, which means to unite. Let us see some of the commentators. We have a surprising commentator in the form of Bhoja. He is a classical commentator of Yoga Sutras somewhere in 8th, 7th, 8th centuries. Now he defines the Patanjali Yoga Sutras as an effort to separate the Atman, that is the reality, from the non-Atman, the apparent reality. See the contradiction. Why it is surprising? It is because yuj means to unite, but the commentator says it is not to unite, but it is to separate. Now this is where the contradiction already starts with the term itself. What Patanjali actually means. After 600 years, Bhoja comes to write a commentary. He understands it that way. How do we understand it now? And this is where the whole possibility of understanding the self in the light of yoga comes. Now the popular understanding of this yoga is union of the individual soul with the Supreme Soul. But did Patanjali have put that Supreme Soul or an individual soul? I am not very sure after going through so many years of teaching and learning yoga. There is no Supreme Soul, there is no individual soul according to Yoga Sutras. Except, he says, Ishvara is there, that is what a separate individual. But union as such with that Ishvara is not portrayed in the yoga. Now this is where we have to see what is the classical understanding that we had separation and the union, how they can go together. When you separate the, what do you call, the non-self from the self, already the union happens. You realize that you are not an individual self with the limitations. You are the Supreme Self with the unlimited powers. This is where the yoga comes. The introduction yoga of yourself, which is the reality, not the apparent reality, that which does not have a limitation. The second sutra, we are not talking about the first chapter, that is first book, the first 6 sutras. The second one is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. This is quoted any number of times with regard to the definition of yoga. This is the definition. Yoga's definition is to, what we call nirodha, to stop the chitta vritti, the mental modifications. Yoga has got another definition in Bhagavad Gita. It gives something like yoga karmasu kaushalam. That is something very, very interesting. Yoga is, kaushalam means doing something very easily, happily, like a child's play. Karmashu means in the action. Whatever in actions you do it with ease, without any effort. Effortless. The translation is something like yoga is dexterity in action. That dexterity is what the effortless manner of doing. Whatever you do, it looks like you are not taking much effort. That is yoga. Only through the discipline it happens. That's why Anushasana, the discipline comes. Now let us see what is this chitta vritti. The mental modifications, the activity of the mind, all those things will come here. Anything that we are emotionally connected. I am sad, I am happy, I am angry, whatever you want to see, emotionally connected, is because of the mental modification, mental activity. Remove that mental activity, you can be neither happy nor sad, neither angry nor peaceful, nothing would be there. This is the self. When you stop this mental modifications, the mind business is thinking. It has to think. There is no other way. But the connecting ourselves with the thinking, it's called association. I and mind. Then comes the emotion. How to stop thinking? You cannot stop. The other one, what we can do is what comes later on. You have to go beyond the mind. It is in the mind. The thinking is in the mind. The thoughts are in the mind. I am neither angry nor peaceful. I am neither sad nor happy. That is going beyond, actually speaking, stopping of the association of the thoughts with the self. The third sutra explains what happens once you do that. When you stop the association, what happens? Without association, the person can see his own nature. Tada drastu. That drastu, drishya comes from there. What we call the one who has seen that, the essential nature he will know. And he will be established in that essential nature. Now we need to understand what is this essential nature. Is there other nature than essential nature? Then we have the explanation given as there are two types of definitions. One is the definition by accidents. When you define a person, you can define a person by the accidents, like let us say Jagadeesh is defined as Jagadeesh with the name, that's an accident. Maybe with the form, what we call short or tall. Maybe with the appearance, bald head or full hair, whatever it is. Maybe with the intellect, intelligent or non-intelligent. All these things are accidents. Essentially, what is a person? Others do not know. Only the person who has gone through his mental modifications and has gone beyond the mental modifications can look at himself. He will be established in that what we call essential nature. Not the phenomenon, but the noumena according to Kant's what we call the terminologies. Once we have come there, you can see that what is phenomena, what is noumena, the understanding of it. We have got egotism. There is again a little bit of understanding what is egotism and what is egoism. A little difference, but we are not going deeper into that. Egotism, understanding T there. T means talk. I talk about myself all the time. Wherever there is a possibility, I will keep that I there. I did this, I did that, I am like that, I am all that I come. That's egotism. Talking of the self. Egoism is the consideration of oneself as the superior to the others. This too is actually perversion of a spiritual being, because spiritually speaking, removing that mind and body association, we are all the same. Now there is an ambition also. Ambition, extra. We are talking about the phenomena of self, the outer, the non-self as such. That is, ambition comes. I want to be, somebody, to be known, to have more money, to have more, whatever it is, that ambition that we have. This is a phenomenon which is an inversion of the spiritual power. That is what noumena is. Then we have got the passions of the body, passions of the mind, not the bike passion, but the passions that we have. The attachments to the things, to the persons. This is a distortion of the universal love. The mortality of the body-mind is a limitation of the immortality of the essential nature. This to separate what is the phenomena, what is noumena. Now, all these false images need to be separated from us so that we can see the true identity of oneself. This is what, through the separation, the union happens. The fourth sutra, the other things, vritti sarulyam. Once you have not seen your essential nature, if you have not seen your essential nature, what happens is you will associate yourself with the mental modifications. I am this, I am that, all those things we have seen. This is where Descartes can go as far like cogito ergo sum. That is, I associate myself with the thoughts. I am nothing but thoughts, reasoning mind. If I have, that is what I am. That is Descartes' what we call definition. But that is not true. We need to go beyond. With this thoughts association, what you get is only misery, not the establishment of the self. Now you need to go beyond and find that pure joy, not with the thoughts. Thoughts also we get joy. That is not the pure joy. There's a flickering enjoyment that you get. That pure joy is actually replaced with the self-indulgence. I am getting some happiness with this indulgence. That comes, mind comes there, the phenomena comes there. Once you have not seen, you are not established in that essential nature of ourselves. Then comes all these indulgences of mind and self. What happens when we are indulgence in the mind and the body? The light of the pure vision, the spiritual joy, are replaced by the indulgence. That is the problem, because it is too difficult for us to do away with the passions of the body and the mind. It's not so easy. Take the words of Patanjali one way and experience yourself. It is not so easy to distance oneself from the body and the mind. It is not at all, what do we call, easy job. That's why the discipline, Anushasana comes. So they must be removed, separated, as if we are doing the cleaning of what we call the germs cleaning, for example. Even what we have said, Paul talking, the gold is being purified by the fire, something like that. But it is not with the violence. It is through the understanding. Not through the violence, but through understanding that there is phenomena within me, that which is actually speaking non-real. Now you need to understand the reality, non-reality. Phenomena and noumena. Don't think phenomena, non-reality means my body is non-reality, it does not exist. No. It has nothing to do with the existence. Reality means that which is consistent, that which is almost like eternal, not that which has got changes now and momentary changes, not the momentariness, but the permanence. Now the spiritual persons, the powers that we have, that is, once we are established in ourselves, we have to take them out of these psychic meshes, what we call it. They have to be removed. The psychic things have to be removed in order to come to that spiritual powers. Then comes the fifth sutra. Fifth sutra is very interesting sutra, which says the modifications of the mind are fivefold and are painful and not painful. Klishta, aklishta, at the same time something like that it is given. How can one, what we call modification of the mind, be klishta, that is painful, and aklishta, non-painful? It is not possible, but it is possible when we go on explaining it. When you say painful, when the vritti is involved in it, that is, you get associated with it. We say it, I am carried away by the thoughts, by the emotions. That is klishta, painful. When you get associated yourself with the thoughts, it becomes painful. Thought is a thought. Yes, I have got angry thoughts, maybe sad thoughts, maybe happy thoughts, but I don't get associated with that thought. Then it becomes what we call the non-painful. That is not joyful, it is non-painful, it's a neutral. And this association is what we are supposed to be careful. We become emotional when we associate ourselves with that body. Without association, without that ego, then it is not painful. We come to the last sutra. Now you say, what are those chitta vrittis that we have talked about, that we are not supposed to be associated with? Say right knowledge, wrong knowledge, then we have fancy, the fantasy, imagination, sleep and memory. These are all chitta vrittis. So we need to understand them, which are separate from the self. All the 8-limbed yoga that Patanjali is going to propose after this is in order to find these 5 chitta vrittis and separate them, in order to realize, find out, discover that self, so that we can be established in that self and experience the joy which is not momentary but which is eternal. We go to the conclusion. We have started with the surprise commentary by Bhoja. That has now come to conclusion. It is not separation but union, but not union but separation. Separation and union. This is the play with the words. That we have separation is justified as separating the mind from that which is beyond the mind. So we need to separate them. And the apparent from the real. So real is there, apparent is there, we need to separate these two. Then you will see the discovery of the self. Thus, the first 6 Yoga Sutras lead a person to the subject matter, that is to find or realize the self by separating the non-self. With this, I conclude the talk. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Now is the time for any questions or doubts.
There is
Father, congratulations for your beautiful presentation. I find the last part of your topic is very interesting, associating oneself with thought. So, my first question is, do you consider this like contemplation, meditation, reflection, as part of the thought? Because it involves, your thinking and...
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Simon. It's a kind of, what Simon is saying, can we do it a part of our meditation, reflection? Let me me bring to your notice, I must have said here and there in the classes also must have said, with regard to the Ignatian contemplation. What he talks something like, there is a kind of exercise that he gives. The particular examination of conscience. That you realize something is wrong with you, maybe some habit, some bad thought, whatever it is, that you want to do away with. How to do away with it? The particular examination of conscience is because towards that. I take example, let us say drinking habits. A person has got a drinking habit, wants to get out of it. How to get out of it? It is not drinking like once in a blue moon parties are there, okay, you take a sip. That is different. Drinking habit as such, without which you cannot live a day. What St. Ignatius of Loyola proposes is, you be in one place, and when the urge comes, that I want to drink now, the urge has come. Note it down. Don't follow the urge. Urge means simply thought has come. Now it is better to have it back. Thought has come. That's what urge is. Now note it down. But don't follow the thought. Now you are actually controlling yourself, avoiding going out to have a drink. And observe again when the second time the urge comes. In a day, supposing every day a person drinks, one day he sits down with this will that let me examine myself. This I found something bad. It is not that others said it is bad. That one has to find oneself. It is bad. Then comes to that consciousness. Then takes down. The urges will begin reducing the next day onwards. The first day, 10 times or 20 times, the urge has come. The next day it becomes more than half, less than half. And it reduces as days go by. What is St. Ignatius of Loyola giving is a disassociation of you getting identified with your thoughts. The thought came, I want to drink now. You identify with the thought and go out to drink. Now disassociate yourself with the thought and say it's a thought, I will not follow the thought. This comes under Ignatian contemplation. Very much for our reflection, for our prayer. Simon, thank you.
One last question, if there is any.
How this cell is connected to different kosha, like Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha.
I understand. Okay. Koshas also, yoga gives just a reference to kosha. But actually koshas, the full explanation of the koshas are given in some Upanishad called Taittiriya Upanishad. Now what happens in Taittiriya Upanishad is, koshas are explained like a human person is not simply one person, but there are 5 layers of personality. These layers are called as koshas. Talks like Annamaya kosha, that which is the body, the gross body, outer body. Then we have got Pranamaya kosha, that which gives life to the body. Then we have got Jnanamaya kosha, that which has knowledge body. Then Vijnanamaya kosha, the discriminative knowledge. At the end comes the 5th one is Anandamaya kosha. Kosha which is eternally joyful. According to that Taittiriya Upanishad, that would be the self. You can discover self by removing these koshas. That is actually different way of separating altogether. Looks like similar. Yoga also says separation. Separate the phenomena and find out the noumena. Here, Taittiriya Upanishad also says phenomena is these 5 koshas, 4 koshas, remove them, come to the last one, which is essential, Anandamaya kosha. Father, thank you.
Thank you, Father. Let's give a moment.
No, this my question is in general about the Indian philosophy as such. All those systems, all this part of it, but it leads me to confusion. Of course, overall, in all these systems, question arises about self, non-self, I, Brahman, etc. Now, what is the common aim of Indian philosophy? It is integrating or separating. I, self, and the other, I and the Brahman. Now, what is the actual meaning of yoga? It is uniting them. Of course, you very much emphasize on one commentator and you are separating it. What self and the other, non-self. Though what is the main aim of all these systems? It's confusing. Are they integrating or are they celebrating? What is the essence of aim of these systems?
Thank you, Father. This is an interesting question because the meaning of yoga as uniting, but one commentator says separation, and we are going on talking with that separation. That's only in the beginning I brought it how union and separation are one and the same. The conclusion is that it is not only Bhoja, one commentator, there is another, 2 other commentators. I forget the name, another one is Vyasa. Both of them, all 3 of them actually say this way. That is, you need to understand what is phenomena and what is noumen, what is apparent, what they use is what is self and what is non-self. Now, separation is in understanding only. I understand I am not the body. The body, when I say, Dr. Chandrasekhar was talking about, when I say my chashma, my spectacles, which means I am distancing myself from the spectacles. It is not me. The same way when you say my body, you are not the body. Only thing is it is somehow or other integrated to that self. Now, coming to the point at hand, separation, union. Why the commentators, especially the classical commentators, gave this commentary as a separation in the beginning? This is not the end. The conclusion is union. What they conclude is union. But beginning they start with the separation. The science of separation. You start separating that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the thoughts, I am not the feelings, I am not the emotions. This is what you are separating. At the end we come to one conclusion, then what am I or who am I? At the end the question comes. There comes the unity of I am beyond this. Now, have you taken away this body? Have you taken away the mind? Have you taken away the thoughts, feelings? This is what Father's question is. We cannot take it away. This is actually integration. I understand I have the thoughts. I understand I am getting associated with it. Because of that, I have the emotions and feelings, whether good or bad, both of them are going to lead me to difficulties. What they call it samsara, the misery. Because if I find happiness in one thing today, and I get associated with that happiness, tomorrow I seek the same happiness. This is what we call the misery. And that we need to separate. Once we separate that, you understand what the real joy is. Thank you, Father.
Thank you, Father Jagadish, for your informative session on self, clarifying all the difficult doubts. Now I request Father Satyapadan to felicitate Father Jagadish.